purpose of this video is going to be to demonstrate and to some extent train on the use of this little application called document acquisition. The purpose of the app is to be able to capture documents from a scanner at some remote location, check the documents, make sure the document is readable, adjust the document if necessary, and then securely upload that document along with additional information that might be relevant to that document to a central site where BPA server, Business Process Automation Server, will manage the use and the further processing of that document that is uploaded. So let's have a look at some of the details of this application. Well, as you can see, we need to log on, and when you first install the application, a default user is created, that is admin, and of course it would be a good idea as soon as you've logged on for the first time to go in and edit those details. Let's have a look how you would do that. Here's the icon on the left hand side for administering users. You can just click the hamburger button over there. That will show you the description of the navigation bar on the left hand side. User maintenance, if you click on that, then you're going to see the users that have been created on the system. There's your default user, which I spoke about, that gets created when you first install the system, and he's an administrator. You can add other users and make them administrators as well, but then that's what they will be. They'll be administrators, so you need to use that with caution. You might ask the question, why would passwords be visible here? Well, the reason is that very often users of this nature are going to forget what their passwords are, and they can then ask an administrator to please give them their password or change their password for them. And so the administrator can log in and he will see the screen and he will be able to tell Fred Flintstone what his password is, or even change that password for him if necessary. This screen, the user maintenance screen, is not available to someone who logs in who is not an administrator. So for example, you'll see here Fred, he's not an administrator. So let's log out, and we'll log in as Fred. And you'll notice, even though Fred is now logged in successfully, he doesn't even see the user maintenance screen. And while we logged in as Fred, who's a non-administrator, let's go to the settings, and you'll notice there's no option here anywhere to be able to make any changes. You cannot edit anything here. You'll see just now when we log back in as an administrator, there is the possibility to make changes to your settings if you're an administrator. So let's do that. We'll log out once again, and we log in as admin. And once we log in as admin, we will then see our user maintenance screen once again. Let's go and have a look once again at the settings, and there you can see here you have a little edit button by most of these groups of settings. First group of settings is to be able to select the scanner that you want to use. Obviously any scanning device which is attached to your computer here and has drivers installed for it will be listed, and you can go and select that scanner to use. You can also test scan to make sure that the scanner that you selected is actually correctly connected and working properly. Scanning options. Let's have a look at the scanning options that are here. By and large, the scanning options that are presented here are obtained and validated against the hardware that you have, the scanner's capabilities. So for example, if your scanner is only a flatbed scanner, then you won't have the option to choose the feeder. If your scan resolution only goes up to 150 pixels or dots per inch, then that's the highest resolution that's going to be listed for you here. If your scanner is only a grayscale scanner, black and white, well, then that's the scan type that you will be presented here. This little drop down, the file format has actually got nothing to do with the scanner. that is your preferred file format for saving images that are received from the scanner. You have the option to use a bitmap, but that is very large. It obviously keeps the most information about the document or the image that you've scanned. And you can also use bitmap, JPEG instead of bitmap, which will lose a little bit, a fractional amount of information. But the human eye is really not going to detect that, certainly not at this level of scanning that we're looking at. Ping is also okay, a PNG file, also a little bit larger than JPEG. It doesn't offer you much more except for transparency, which we're not working with really here. Grayscale 8-bit, well, that's quite useful. If you don't need color, you can reduce the size of your document considerably by choosing a grayscale format. And if you really only need to have text and you're not worried about images at all, such as logos, then you can go down to a grayscale, which is just black and white, 1-bit. It'll be definitely the smallest file format. For the moment, we're going to use JPEG as the default. We can always change that on a per document basis as we move along, and we'll demonstrate that. These two little options, I didn't mention them. Scan one page at a time and show scan progress. If you want to scan one page at a time, what that means is that even though you're using a feeder and you might place a stack of documents, maybe 10 or 20 documents into the feeder, it's going to feed only one page at a time. So it'll scan the page, present it to you, and it'll wait for you to complete working with that document before it actually feeds the next page through. Most scanners, at least my scanner that I have here, has a timeout on that, so you have a couple of minutes to work with the document and then move on to the next one. Otherwise it assumes that an error has occurred. So that lot depends on the driver that you're using for your scanner hardware. Show scan progress, well, that's going to present a standard Windows dialog, which will show you the progress of data transfer from the scanner to your computer that you're working on. Normally the scanner would be attached to your computer, but sometimes they're not. Perhaps the scanner is situated in a common area and you don't actually see the scanner, but you'd like to see the fact that it is in fact transferring data across to your computer. Right, now let's have a look at the next group of settings here, and that is your file sequence number. Every document that gets created will be given a sequence number. Only if you scan a document and you immediately decide that the image is worthless and delete it, will it not be given a sequence number. But if you do save that document and manipulate it at a later stage, it will be given a document number. Reason being, for audit purposes. Up on the server side, every document from this facility or this code XYZ should be there. There should be no gaps in the sequence. There is, then it means some document has gone missing somewhere and is not accounted for, and some action can be taken to find that document. This facility here is an indication or a record of where this application is being used. So you would give it a unique facility code and a description of where this facility is. Right, that is the settings. Let's move a little higher up and let's have a look at the system information that is presented. On the software group, well, it's going to tell us what the version of the software is, and software updates are automatic. Every time you launch this application, it's going to check to see if there's an update available and ask you whether you would like to apply the update or not. You can also click on that button and update your software manually. Now in this case, because this application is not network deployed, I'm running it in the development environment. It can't check for updates, but in a real live environment, then that's going to be something that you can do. The URL over here is remember, this is a remote client sitting out somewhere and it needs to connect to a central server via some sort of a resource locator, and that's going to be entered here by the administrator. In my instance, as you can see here, I'm looking at a local host, so I'm running on a server which is also on the same computer. Information about the computer is presented here, and all of this information will also be presented along with any document that gets uploaded to the server, so that you can easily identify where that document originated from. As you're working with documents and add documents to the system, they will have a variety of different statuses. You may have just captured it, in which case it will be ready for you to use. You may have accepted that the document is fine for upload. You may have queued it for upload. It may have been uploaded or even accepted and rejected. All of those statuses will be listed here, and the count of the number of documents in that particular status will also be presented for you to observe here. Licensing, well, that depends on what license you've purchased and how up to date your license is. We'll come on to this tab of the uploading of documents to the server at a later stage, and we'll talk about that. For now, we want to concentrate a little bit on where the user is going to spend most of his time, and that is capturing documents. What do we see here? In this particular version, only a set of metadata called the default collection date is going to be attached to every document that is scanned. Why is it called a default collection date? Well, if you put a batch of documents into the scanner and all of those documents are scanned and presented for the user here in this area below, they're all going to receive the same collection date, which in this case will be a few days in the future, 2 days in the future. At a later stage, you can go in and you can double click on any of those documents and change the collection date should you choose to do so. Right, so what I need to do now is I need to load some paper into my scanner, and then I'll demonstrate how we go ahead and scan some documents. So hold on a moment, please. Right, so I've loaded some documents into the scanner. What we're now going to do is click the scan button up on the right hand side, and the scanner is going to go through those documents, and as each document is scanned, it's going to be presented for me here in this white area. So let's just give that a few seconds for the documents to start coming through. You'll see them popping up. Right, there's your first one, second one. Of course, if you're using a high-speed scanner, they're going to come through it a lot faster than my multifunction printer scanner is going to be doing. So we should get the fourth one coming through, and even though it's still busy transferring data and doing the scan, you can immediately start working with these documents. So I'm going to double click this document here, and double clicking the document, you see it opens up a new image, a new dialogue rather, for me with the image presented. Now I can see the document that has been scanned, what the result is, and I can decide whether this document is good enough as is to accept and upload. But let's have a look at some of the information that we have about the document. We can see the resolution, 150 dots per inch or pixels per inch. That is what we set the scanner to. The format of the file as it stands at the moment is JPEG. 102 kilobytes is the size of the file. Now we can change the type of the file. If I double click on the ellipsis here, then this little section gives me some additional tools, and these tools I can keep open should I want to. If I change excuse me, the format of that file to bitmap, notice the size. It goes to, wow, it goes 5.8 megabytes. Whereas if you choose JPEG, and you won't notice the difference here in quality, it comes right down to 75k. Isn't that absolutely amazing? Notice also though, if you look at this document, you see that line across the top there, it's a little bit skew. So as the document gets fed through the rollers of the scanner, it might be pulled a little skew, and that is very typical of a scanner. So the software has the ability to just click on that little button if necessary and just pull that document straight and make it just look so much neater. Also, looking at this, you can see the document looks a little bit faint, perhaps that writing is not going to be as readable as we would like. So let's just get it as big as we can in this resolution. Now we can sharpen it. Let's just see the results of the sharpening. Yeah, it gets a little bit clearer. Sharpen it some more. There we go, even clearer. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with that document. 75k, that's a reasonable size. What we do is we accept the image and save it. We can move on to the next one. Now you notice that that document has come out of this queue. Where's it gone? Let's go and look at our upload side. Now we can't view the upload queue until we know the number of documents that we expect to be in that queue. Why is that the case? Well, imagine you've worked with a batch of documents and you're under quite a bit of stress because you've got a lot of work to get through, and the scanner takes 2 pages through as one. That could be a missing document. So now what you do is, when you finish just your batch that you've worked with, you go and you count the physical documents and you enter that number here. Now we've just done one document, so I'm going to enter 1 there. If you get it wrong, it's not going to allow you to continue. Watch this. Let's go back to upload. It's asking me for the number. If I put 2 there, we haven't got 2. It doesn't allow us to go in, and it says no, that's incorrect. If I make that 1, there we go. Now it says you can work with that document. Now that document is not uploaded yet, it's just accepted. If I had to check that, click that button there, then it's going to be queued for upload. If I click that button there, I'm going to move it back to this screen so that I can work on it again. So that was number 117. We've straightened it, we've accepted it as a JPEG, and as you manipulate the document, save it to the hard drive, bring it back, change formats, it's going to change from one size to the next. That's just the way things happen. If I change it to PNG, 350k, change it back to JPEG, there's now 85k. How do you like that? Isn't that amazing? Alright, let's save that document. We'll move on to another one. Look at this one. This one's upside down. So here we have an opportunity to demonstrate some of the other tools. You can flip an image vertically, flip it horizontally, rotate it 90 degrees to the right, to the left, straighten it, sharpen it. This will reduce the size. So if you have scanned it perhaps 300 dots per inch and the size of the file is just too big, you can actually reduce the size of the file by reducing the quality. And if you really need to, you can actually rescan the document completely. Notice this little button here. As you're making changes, it records what you've done and you can actually undo until such time as you get to the point where you're back at the original document or you get to your last save. Once you've saved, you can't undo anymore because that's now committed to disk. Let's have a look at some of these things in action. So let's flip this thing this way so that the top is at the top, and then mirror it. So there we go. Now it looks more like a readable document. We can now straighten that as well. That will get rid of the skewness. There we go. Now it's 106k. Quality is quite good. Let's sharpen it a little. And of course these tools that you're using, such as sharpening and straightening and all of that, wow, that's going to be very specific to the quality of each document that you pass through your scanner. So yeah, this is something that if you want to have a quality document ending up on your server for others to view sometime in the future, this is an exercise that somebody may need to go through if necessary. Okay, we're happy with that document as it stands. We'll save that one as well. Let's quickly do these two as well. Alright, that document looks okay, but let's just straighten it. Okay, and let's see what else we can do, and we're going to just darken it a little. It's not quite the same as sharpening. Sharpening is going to preserve the quality of the printout a little better. Darkening it, what I want to show you is just converting this to 8-bit grayscale. Yeah. Notice the size, 57k. Not bad. You can still read that document very well. Let's save that document. Open up the next one. Straighten the document. Or de-skew it. Let's sharpen that document a few times, because what I want to do now is I want to show you how small we can make that file by going to just black and white. Okay, let's just do this until we get the document looking pretty good and readable. Okay, there we go. We have a pretty good readable document here. Even that barcode doesn't look bad. I can undo if I wish. Just notice, just to demonstrate it, I can go all the way back to my SKU document. But of course now I have to redo it again. But anyway, I'm demonstrating the capabilities here. Let's do this. Sharpen. Okay, that's not too bad. Watch this. I can rotate that, and I can just undo that. Now I'm sitting at 90k. That's a JPEG format. Watch this. Let's go down to 1-bit grayscale. Bang. Not a bad document. I'm sure if you expanded that you'd still be able to read it, but have a look. You see you've lost quality here in your barcode. Okay? But now look at the size. It's only 10k. Let's undo that. Back to this quality. Not bad. I think we lose too much. Let's go to grayscale again. That still looks acceptable. We can maybe just darken it a fraction, and then go to 1-bit and see what that looks like. That looks better. It's still at 10k, and the document looks quite readable. Let's accept that document as it is. So now we've processed all 14 documents. But, oops, you might say, you know what? One of those documents needs to have its collection date changed. So if we go to our upload queue and put the correct number in, we can now say, well, let's take that last document that we did, which would have been, it's probably 118, I think, eh? Let's go back and let's put it back on this side. Double click it. Yes, it's 10k, that's the one. And we want to change the delivery date. Not the 19th, that's got to only come on Monday the 22nd. Right, let's accept that one, so there's a different delivery date, or collection date rather. Back to our upload queue. Let's have the next look at the next stage in this process. We're happy with all of these documents. We can still double click that document, but in this point we can only double click it with a point of view, and we can't go and edit that document any further. Just a confirmation, yes, that's going to be readable. Let's upload those documents. So you see when I hit that button, watch this carefully. Notice the border color is going to change. The status is going to change from accepted to queued, and then it's going to upload it. And that's going to happen for each of these documents. As it gets uploaded, it's going to end up on the server. Once it's been uploaded, it will end up here under this tab. Why would we still keep it here? The process is not finalized yet. These documents could still be accepted or rejected on the server side. And how do we let the user know unless we still have a record of the document here? So let's have a look at that. Let's go and briefly look at the server side and see what do we have there. We have this application, which is our BPA server. And you can notice that certain events were taking place there. It was actually processing the documents that we had uploaded and forwarding them to the ERP system. In this case, it's just another folder somewhere. These are 4 documents that we've uploaded. This is when we did it. And we can double click those documents and we can see what they are. But notice something has changed. They are now no longer bitmaps or images. They are actually PDF files. And notice this differences in the size. Some of those files are really small. That 9K one, that must be the one that we changed to a 1-bit per pixel image, black and white. Let's double click it and have a look what it looks like in Adobe Reader. Well, that's only 10K file. That's a very small file. And it actually does look quite readable. But we're going to pretend that we can't use it because that barcode doesn't have sufficient quality to read the barcode any longer. But notice what else we have on the second page. First page we have the image of the original document. Here we have a whole bunch of additional information regarding that document. We can see the serial number of the device, the computer that it was scanned on, the sequence number, the facility where it originated, who did it, what the collection date is, when was it captured, when last was that image modified, the time, when was it queued for upload, and then finally when was it actually uploaded. Let's assume that this document though is not acceptable, right? Now we want to watch a few things here. Notice that there's activities going on here. This business process automation server is always busy doing something. Now if I had to take this document, let's cut it from there, and we're going to take it and we're going to place it in the rejected folder. Notice that folder is empty. We're going to put a new document in there. Now within 1 minute something's going to take place. That document is going to be picked up as rejected by our BPA server. The BPA server is going to communicate back to our remote client, which you see in the background, and it's going to tell it that particular document has been rejected. There we see it's picking up the result from the ERP server, or the ERP system. It's going to now feed it back to our remote client, and you saw the document on the left hand side here turned briefly red and then disappeared. So it is now no longer in the status of being uploaded. It also hasn't been deleted. It's not queued. Where is it? Well, if the user goes back to capture documents, he's going to be presented with the document that was rejected, and he's going to have to do something with that document. Well, the document was not accepted for whatever reason it might be. It may be the information is missing, the quality is bad. There can be any number of reasons as to why the document would be rejected. He can double click the document, and all he can do, he cannot edit this document or do anything else with it. He can just delete that document. And of course the document is now gone. It's deleted, and if we had to go back into the deleted queue here, it would have been there very briefly, but it won't stay there permanently, because this is only really if you like a temporary area where deleted documents are going to reside until such time that the server has been informed and the ERP system has been informed that that document is now fully processed and deleted, and we don't need it any longer. So let's go back to the ERP system. We look in our rejected folder where that original document was. It's now gone. So we don't have old rejected documents lying around. However, the history of that deletion is still maintained in the database. Let's go back to the rest of the documents, and we'll make the assumption that those documents which are still uploaded were fine. So the ERP system says those documents are good, so we'll cut them from that folder, we'll put them in the completed folder. There's a bunch of other documents. Now notice what's going to happen. As our ERP system picks up, or rather as our BPA server picks up that those documents have been finalized and accepted, it feeds that information back to our remote client where the user is busy, and those documents are now finally processed and they're no longer required on the remote PC, and they're gone. Well, that in a nutshell really demonstrates the whole system. Perhaps as far as navigation is concerned, that's a typical sort of Windows 10 type of presentation. If you want to see the buttons and the description of the buttons, you can click on the ellipsis and click on the hamburger on the left hand side to hide or to show the description of the vertical navigation buttons. Settings down the bottom, log out at the bottom, and your usual operations that you're going to be busy with, the most frequent one right at the top. So we'll log out now and say thank you very much for watching, and hope that this video has been informative to you. Thank you very much.